What's up, everyone? I'm going to break down a little lunge dynamic I have a lot of my clients do before a warm-up. Let me preface this with, if you are struggling with a lunge or you're feeling pain with your lunge, you're going to avoid this until you feel confident with your lunge. Then you can add this to your warm-up. Okay, let's go ahead and run clip and we'll take a look. You guys need a little background noise for this clip, by the way. So it starts off with just standard lunge, and usually I'll do this for maybe 10 to 15 down, 10 to 15 feet back. The next thing is you can add a rotation where you're going to lunge. I call this the 007. Rotate. Main thing here is as you're going through your rotations, you're not just trying to pull your arms, you're just trying to rotate your chest. So if your chest bone had a laser pointer on it, you're rotating one direction, nice and smooth, rotate the other direction. Rotating the torso, not just pulling the arms across the body. The last variation, same thing, lunge stays the same, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my arms up overhead, just reach back as far as I can. Next lunge forward, step, reach overhead, and step. Okay, so I'm going to break these down really quick. I'm not going to talk too much about the variations. The main thing I want to talk about is the lunge. As far as the lunge goes, a lunge is a lunge. Now, there's little nuances here and there. Well, what if you're doing it in a direction where you're, jumping forward or something like that? That's a different animal. The main thing that I'm going to really stress when you're doing your lunge is that the lunge is sort of an up and forward movement. When I step forward, at least when I'm starting off, I'm not going to step forward and immediately go down. I'm going to set my feet so I have no forward movement. From here, my movement should be down. So what I like to do is I like to imagine that I build a little wall right in front of me, and as I go down, my lunge is straight down. Now, my front knee comes forward a little bit. That's okay. Main thing here is this heel, your front heel, has to stay down. This is a big giveaway. If your front heel starts to lift up, or if you just feel all your weight in your front toes, you kind of know that your whole body is kind of rocking forward, and this is going to sort of, we'll just say, overload the knees. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but for the sake of time, we'll just say that. So from here, I've gone down. My lunge itself is an up and forward movement. So my front leg is pushing down, my back leg is sort of pushing back. This is going to cause my body to come up and forward, and boom, I've done my lunge. I like to kind of call the bottom position the 90s. When I get down here, the angle's not great here, but roughly, just imagine a bunch of little boxes. Those are all 90 degrees. My body is roughly in a bunch of 90-degree angles. I'll show you what that should not look like later on. From here, I push up and forward. And then the same thing, even though I'm adding some different movements here, these lunges are the same. Here's the 007 lunge. Same thing. I step forward, and I'm going to pause. I'm going to come straight down. For this one, I'll actually take a knee completely. You don't have to be hovering. And then from here, just rotation all the way across, all the way across. As far as the lunge goes, nothing changed. And then if I skip forward to the overhead lunge, it's going to be the same thing. I step forward, reach, pause. Main thing is, as I'm in this position here, I see a lot of people as they're coming up from this, I'll see a lot of the torso starts to lean, not that one, I'll see the torso start to lean forward, and I'll actually show you what that looks like, but we do not want that. My body is still, remember those 90-degree boxes we talked about? 90, 90, 90. Okay, let's take a look at a few lunges that we do not want. Okay, so this is sort of the common one I see. I just call this the limp noodle lunge. This essentially is a very uninspired lunge where I step forward, but rather than pausing, you're going to see that I immediately start my downward descent. I step forward. You can see my body's already moving. I'll just say core, my trunk is completely limp. It's a noodle. And then from here, as I go down, my body kind of flops into this. So the main thing you can kind of see here is my heel is completely off the ground. I'm completely toe loaded. My spine is sort of noodling forward, and I'm able to push through because I have strong enough legs. But when it comes down to it, if I was doing this under load, meaning I'm holding some weights, This is going to be both bad for my knees and bad for my back. And generally when you do it this way, your knees will let you know they're not happy. Same thing, I step forward immediately as I'm going down. You can see my body looks kind of, it just doesn't look very rigid. I kind of tell people you should look like a frat kid who's flexing his muscles down the street even though he doesn't need to. We want to be under tension completely as we're doing this movement. Same thing here. Heel is completely off the ground. Not good. Again, especially if you've had knee injuries in the past or you're going through recovery. This will set that off pretty quickly. Really overloads that patellar tendon. All right, let's look at a few more. So this is just this is very similar to the last one. This is just a lunge with a completely unengaged core. So I step forward. Again, I'm going down way too early. On this one, I actually want you to notice I keep my heel down. So the lunge itself, my feet are at good angles, but the main thing here is I've let my core completely disengage. So just like a squat, when I do a squat, I want my hips and my shoulders to rise at the same rate. Here what's going to happen is as I go up, my butt's going to come up first and then my shoulders, and this next one is a better example of it. I come down, and then as I come up, again, my body should be here. I'm completely forward of that line. But as I go up, watch what goes up first. Butt comes up, butt comes up, butt comes up, and then I go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be standing up straight, and then I try to straighten out. I see that one a lot. Sometimes it's due to, we'll just say technique. A lot of times it's just due to either laziness, not really putting in 100% effort, or honestly just not really paying attention. So easy rule, keep your head above your shoulders, keep your shoulders above your hips while you're doing a lunge. Okay, so I'll try to give a more detailed breakdown of the lunge itself, but this is a nice little lunge warm-up that I'll do with my clients. Again, if I want to start from the very beginning, I'll just kind of run clip and talk over this. For each of these three, the normal lunge, I'll usually do this one maybe 10 to 15 down, 10 to 15 feet back. And then 007 lunge, I'll maybe do a few of these, maybe 5 of these per side. I take my time on these things, especially if my hips are tight. This is not a rushed drill. This is a nice smooth movement. I'll maybe go for about 5 of these per leg. And then same thing for the overhead, maybe about 5 or so, 5 to 10 overhead lunges per side, just making sure that I'm taking my time. I'm not rushing this, and I'm really focusing on keeping my body tracked, keeping my load points set, meaning I'm not collapsing, I'm not just turning certain things off just to rush the movement. All right, this is the lunge dynamic warm-up.